Hello everyone, Taylor here, and I finally have my top 10 movies of 2017 list that I'm ready to share with you all. I'm sorry that it took a little bit longer than I was anticipating. There were a few movies that I absolutely had to see before I made this list. There's still a few I haven't seen, but I've seen enough now to where I feel comfortable making this list, so let's jump right into it. At number 10, we have a little movie that I discovered on Netflix called Okhta. Now, Okhta, if you haven't seen it, is about a girl named Mija, I believe is how you pronounce her name. She is the caretaker and companion of a super pig, and they have been together for about 10 years in the mountains of South Korea. And then a corporation known as the Mirando Corporation, who started the Super Pig contest, comes to take Okhta away because Okhta is the winner. It's the pig that grew the biggest. And so they come to take Okhta back to New York, and Mija goes to rescue Okhta and goes on this pretty gnarly, awesome, epic adventure to try and save her super pig. It's a really, really fun movie. The cast is fantastic. You have Tilda Swinton, who plays twin sisters. She plays Lucy and Nancy Mirando, who are both part of the Mirando Corporation. And then you have Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays Johnny Wilcox, who is like a TV personality, basically, for nature, animal-related shows. And this character for him is something I've never seen out of him before, and he kills it. He's amazing in this movie, and I'm so sad that more people haven't seen it. And then you also have Paul Dano, I can never pronounce that right. But he's in it as well, as part of like an animal rights group that Mija meets along the way, and kind of goes on an adventure, the rest of the adventure with her. But if you haven't seen Okhta, I would absolutely recommend it. It is one of the most unique movies that I've seen this year, and it's really, really stuck with me, and I loved the style of it a lot. The way it was shot was great, and all the characters were just fantastic, and the story is really heartwarming in a lot of ways, and very striking in a lot of ways, and very disturbing in a lot of ways. But if you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out. Coming in at number 9 is going to be a very controversial pick for a lot of you, but coming in at number 9 for me was The Last Jedi by Rian Johnson. Now, we all know how extremely divisive this movie has been. People love it, they hate it, they're protesting it, they want it out of canon, all this stuff, okay? For me, I personally enjoyed the movie a lot. I went into the movie and came out not expecting about 90% of the things that I saw, and I personally loved that. I did not want to go in and know exactly what I was going to see because of the fan theories that I've heard. But that's all I'm going to say about it. If you guys want to know my thoughts, you can go watch my movie review for that movie, because I know a lot of you do not like that movie, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. But that is my number 9, because I liked how unique it was. I loved the new ideas and the new canon it brought to the universe, and the potential to expand the universe through what it brought to us. I thought Adam Driver was incredible in this movie. Gonna leave it at that. Alright. At number 8, we've got Logan Lucky by Steven Soderbergh. Now, this movie, as soon as the trailers came out for it, I was really, really excited, because it just looked like a fun comedy heist type movie, which is exactly what it was. The humor in it was so funny. The cast did a great job. And honestly, this is one of the most fun movies I've seen in a really long time. I just was so entertained watching it, and I thought the story was really compelling, and I just loved it. I really did. Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig, they all did so good. Seeing Daniel Craig as Joe Bang in this role was the best. It was the best, because I don't think anyone expected him to play a role like this, and he was brilliant. So Logan Lucky, if you haven't seen it, I would check it out, because it's really a movie you can just be entertained by, but also you have a really talented cast who actually does a very, very good job with the movie, and I loved it a lot. At number 7, we have Get Out by Jordan Peele. This movie has made so many waves this year, and for such good reason. It is an incredible movie. Absolutely incredible movie. It's so important right now for this movie to exist. It really is. It's such a raw, authentic, terrifying, eye-opening, necessary movie. It's just brilliant. The writing is brilliant. The concept is brilliant. Daniel Kaluuya, I think is how you pronounce it, kills it. So excited he got nominated for an Oscar. So excited that Jordan Peele got nominated, because this movie absolutely deserves it. I don't think anyone was ever expecting this movie to be what it was. And if you haven't watched it, please go watch it. If you've only watched it once, please go watch it again, because it is a completely different experience once you see it again, but in the best possible ways. So Get Out is my number 7, just because, like, how could it not be on my list? It's a work of art, and it's just necessary and special and important and groundbreaking and magnificent. That's all I'm going to say about that. You guys know. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, please go watch it. Coming in at number 6 for me this year is Ingrid Goes West by Matt Spicer. Now, this movie I was not expecting at all. It came out of nowhere, and I loved it. It has Aubrey Plaza and Elizabeth Olsen are the main characters in this movie. And if you haven't seen it or heard about it, it's basically Aubrey Plaza's character is Ingrid Thorburn, and she is a social media addict, basically, who, spoiler alert, whose mom just died, and whose mom was really sick and just died, and left her a bunch of inheritance money, like, I think it was like $50,000 or something like that. And so Ingrid finds this girl, played by Elizabeth Olsen. Her name is Taylor Sloan, and she's like Instagram famous. And she finds her account and becomes obsessed with her and decides to move out to California with the money that she got from her mom, and goes to find Taylor, basically, to try and become her friend. And it progresses from there into this crazy, insane journey of her finding Taylor and kind of integrating herself into Taylor's life. And it is very, very accurate of the way a lot of people use social media right now and perceive social media, and what it can do to you and to your life if you're not very careful. But yeah, this movie was brilliant. Aubrey Plaza was amazing in it, and her character really goes through a lot in this movie. And there are parts where you don't like her, and then there are parts where you feel really bad for her and you root for her, and it's quite a ride. So if you haven't seen Ingrid Goes West, please, please go check it out, because it's super underrated and it's really, really, really well done. Alright, coming in at number 5, we have Call Me By Your Name by Luca Guadagnino, I believe is how you pronounce that. And this movie was on my most anticipated list for this year. I finally got to see it like 3 days ago, and it did not disappoint me at all. It was such a beautiful love story, and the way that it was shot and the way that it was told allowed you to feel like you were observing it, actually. Like, you got to see firsthand this relationship between between Elio and Oliver. You really got to see Elio and Oliver meet and then progress through this friendship and through this relationship. And it's really an extraordinary story of love and friendship and heartbreak and self-discovery and acceptance and so many things. And yeah, it's, the cast in it is wonderful. Michael Stuhlbarg, once again, kills it in this movie, especially that one scene. You all know what I'm talking about. And the chemistry that Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet were able to achieve in this movie is something really, really special. And I love the way that the relationship is handled in the movie by everyone. I love that Oliver is never condescending as far as their relationship goes. They tease each other, and there are times when they're at odds with things because they're both kind of dancing around how they feel. But once they acknowledge how they feel about each other and they start to become intimate and really start to let each other get close, the way that Oliver treats Elio is beautiful. It's not toxic, and there's really no antagonist here that's trying to tear them apart, and it's just not a toxic or antagonistic movie. The only antagonist here is, heartbreak, and the fact that eventually Oliver has to leave. That's the only thing. Like Elio's parents are never an issue, and it's just, I love the way that it's framed. But yes, so Call Me By Your Name is number 5 for me. Coming in at number 4, we have Baby Driver by Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is also one of my favorites. He is wonderful. I love Cornetto trilogy. Freaking all those movies are fantastic. I personally love Hot Fuzz. Shaun of the Dead is also brilliant, but Hot Fuzz is great. Anyway, Baby Driver was also on my most anticipated list after I saw the trailer. The trailer was cut so brilliantly, and the movie did not disappoint at all. I am a huge music person. Music has always been such a big part of my life for a lot of reasons, and the way that the music was used in this movie was perfect. It was. And you guys can argue with me all you want, I don't care. The way that the music was used in this movie it made me smile. It just made me so happy to see it used that way. And Ansel Elgort as Baby was so solid. He just fit the role so well and did such a great job with Baby's character and Baby's character development, where he ends up. John Hamm was probably my second favorite part of this movie. I love John Hamm. I love John Hamm so much, and his portrayal of Buddy was great, and I was not expecting that character to go where that character went in the movie, but yeah, the editing was great, the sound in this movie was great, cinematography was great. I loved Baby Driver so much. I loved the story, how the love story intertwined with, his life of crime, I guess, and how that all kind of played out. Yeah, this movie, I think, is severely underrated. A lot of people will say it's overrated, but I think it's severely underrated for what it achieved and for what Edgar Wright was able to do with it. So that is my number 4. At number 3, we have Logan by James Mangold. I was so happy to see that this movie got nominated for an Oscar, you guys. That is huge. To have a superhero movie nominated in a writing category for a screenplay category is insane. And I'm so, so happy that it was this one, because this movie, when I watched the trailers for the first time, I cried. When I saw the movie in theaters for the first time, I cried. This movie is such a different superhero movie from what we're used to seeing at all. And even though it came out at the beginning of this year, technically last year now, and it still is, I haven't stopped thinking about it. This movie just told a story that I never thought we'd get to see on screen for a superhero kind of movie. And yeah, Daphne Keane in this movie as Laura was just so wonderful. Like, she killed it in this role. She took this role and she just nailed it. And then to have Sir Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman in this movie playing the roles the way that they did, especially after how long they've both been playing those roles. Yeah, I feel like I don't even need to explain any further why Logan is number 3 for me, because it was such a well-told story and such an emotional story and such an incredible way to end the journey for two of these characters that we've grown to love on screen for such a long time. It's been, what, like 17 years or something like that? That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And the fact that we got this as a cap to it all, it blows my mind. Yeah. So Logan is my number 3. Coming in at number 2 for me is a movie that I didn't see until a little late in the game. I missed it when it was in theaters, but I saw it, I believe, on Amazon. And The Big Sick comes in at number 2 for me. This movie by Michael Showalter and written by Kumail Nanjiani and Emily V. Gordon. Whew, man, this story completely took me by surprise. Like, first of all, the fact that it's based on a true story. It's pretty much exactly a true story. It's incredible. Second of all, it's a love story, but it's also a story of multiculturalism and acceptance and all of this amazing stuff. It's a really funny movie and a really touching movie and a heartbreaking movie and a movie that'll make you smile, and yeah, it's so well written, and I'm so glad that I'm sad that it only got 1 Oscar nomination, but the fact that it got 1 makes me happy. I'm so happy for Kumail and Emily that they got that nomination. But yeah, Kumail and Zoe Kazan and Holly Hunter and Ray Romano were a perfect cast for this, honestly. They did such a wonderful job with it, and the emotion in it was beautiful. This movie made me feel a lot. I watched this movie for the first time, finished it, and then literally watched it again right away. And then like 2 days later, I made Jolene watch it with me. So, this movie really hit me hard in the best ways. And seeing Bo Burnham in this movie, I was not expecting Bo to be in it, and to see Bo in it also gave it extra points for me because I love Bo. But yeah, so The Big Sick comes in at number 2 for me, and my number 1 movie of the year should surprise absolutely no one. Coming in at number 1 is The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro. This movie was my number 1 most anticipated as soon as I saw the trailer. The trailer was so beautiful to me that I was like, there's no way that this movie is not going to be a work of art, especially with Guillermo del Toro at the helm of it. And it was. It was one of the most stunning masterpieces I've ever had the pleasure of seeing on screen. Honestly, it was. It is such a beautiful story, just in general. And then to see it told the way it was, with the amount of passion and care and attention that it was given, not only by all of the actors and actresses who brought the characters to life, but by the way that the cinematography was shot and the music that was given to it and the set design and just everything just worked so well for this movie. And it was just, it made me cry. A lot of things make me cry, but this movie, I had to kind of sit there after the credits and just collect myself for a minute, because the story, it just reached into my chest and was like, oh, you see that heart that's in there? Yeah, you don't need that. We're gonna set it on fire and it's fine. Basically is how I felt. But yeah, I love the fact that Guillermo del Toro tells stories the way that he tells them, because he handles these kind of stories in a way that only he can, and they end up being so human and so relatable and so beautiful. And yeah, I love this movie so much. That's, if you've seen my review of The Shape of Water, you know why I can't find any words to say right now, because it literally left me very speechless and very stunned for all of the right reasons. But that is my top 10 movies of 2017 list. I wanted to throw out some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list. So for my honorable mentions, Molly's Game. I loved Molly's Game. I loved the script for that movie. It was very clever, the way that the characters were written, very Aaron Sorkin, the way that the characters were written, and Jessica Chastain completely carries that entire movie, 100%. Her performance in that movie is just astounding, really. She brings it to a whole nother level, and she is most of the reason why that movie actually works. So Molly's Game gets a shout out. Kong Skull Island. I know there are a lot of people who weren't too fond of Kong Skull Island. I loved it. It was actually one of my favorite movies this year. I really had a lot of fun with it and enjoyed it a lot. Thor Ragnarok was stellar. Taika Waititi killed it with that movie. And if it were any other year, that movie probably would have made my top 10, but the movies that we're getting this year, it just didn't quite make the cut. But Thor Ragnarok, I loved. Wonder Woman, obviously, was incredible for what Patty Jenkins was able to do with that movie. Was nothing short of magnificent. The only reason it's not on my top 10 list is because of the ending. Still lacked a little bit for me with how the whole villain thing worked out at the end there, but definitely does not take away from what she was able to achieve with that movie and how much it means to me. And then last but 100% not least at all, The Greatest Showman. Heck yeah, guys. I love all of the music from that movie so much. I thought the story was a lot of fun. You could tell that Hugh Jackman freaking loved working on this project. Seeing Zac Efron back in a musical made me happy. So yeah, The Greatest Showman absolutely deserves a spot on my honorable mentions. Oh, and also Spider-Man Homecoming. Definitely can't forget Spider-Man Homecoming. Tom Holland did a fantastic job. Michael Keaton was one of the best MCU villains that we've ever gotten, which was perfect. That made me so happy. But that movie was great. It also one of the best movies of this year. Just didn't quite make the list because of literally everything else that we somehow managed to get all crammed into this year. So that is my top 10 list and my honorable mentions. Please leave your comments down below with some of your favorite movies from 2017. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you all so, so much for being patient with me getting this list out. It's been more of a struggle than I thought it was going to be because the first, we're like 3 weeks into January. My first 3 weeks of this year have been unbelievable. You guys literally wouldn't believe me if I told you how busy I've been in these first 3 weeks. But thank you all so, so much for your support on this channel. When I was in California last week, I got the chance to collaborate with Greg from The Real Rejects. They put up some videos on their channel of when we got to hang out and do some reactions. I'll post the links down below if you want to go check those out. Thank you guys again, Greg and John, for inviting me to be on the channel. That was so much fun. All my other links to all my social media, as well as my Patreon campaign, will also be in the description. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed your time here, and I will see you all next time.